Talking with the experts.
Hello and welcome to Talking with the Experts. My name is Rose Davidson and today my guest is Angel Ribo. And Angel is known as the CEO Confidant and is an influencer, international TV host, public speaker, CEO consultant, board member and philanthropist. In the last 21 years, Angel has empowered more than 1,500 CEOs in 33 different countries. He was born near Barcelona and he has lived in 8 countries and speaks 5 languages. Wow, that's amazing. Established entrepreneurs and corporate CEOs hire Angel to bridge the gap globally for expansion and exposure. Angel is based in Texas, and early in 2017, he launched his international foundation, Wisdom for Kids, and he has helped more than 1,000 underprivileged kids in Latin America become entrepreneurs using their local resources. That's amazing.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me, Rose, and thank you everyone listening.
And thank you for coming on. So tell me a little bit more about your foundation. Sounds interesting.
Yeah, thank you. So in 2015, after being 14 years working with different large corporations and traveling all over Latin America, I had always found the same kind of scenario. So I would go to these very fancy places, headquarters, or even manufacturing plants in the outskirts of the big cities. And every time I would go there would be always those kids, those underprivileged kids offering me some sort of service. Hey, can we keep your car safe while you are inside the plant? Would you buy some, chewing gum from us, or whatever that was? So, after so many years, obviously, I was only focusing on, I have to do my job. I have to, sell to those companies. I have to help them get their processes better. I have to help them grow their businesses, blah, blah, blah. And although I was looking, I was seeing all that poverty every single day, I never took action, and nothing more than, giving some maybe coins or whatever it was, right? Or allowing them to clean my windshield, sort of thing, you know what I mean? So in 2015, actually, I can only call it like an spiritual experience. And it was very clear to me that all this experience of, reaching out and working with these very high level people all over the continent, and at the same time, seeing all these very underprivileged, the lowest of the lowest in the continent, there was a reason. There was a reason why I had developed, this awareness and at the same time, this ability to deal with these people. So I said, okay, so I think that in moving forward, what I have to do is I have to pay much more attention to this. I started doing some research. I reached out to a couple of friends, and magically, after joining forces and developing for a couple of years a workshop that we thought could help kids change their lives in a very short period of time, we started, piloting, proof testing our workshop, and then we started to deploy it. And then, well, unfortunately, COVID started and we had to stop. But the good thing about it is that we definitely learned a lot about poverty and a lot about how to teach entrepreneurship that we have been learning and teaching to other business owners for so many years, teaching it to the most underprivileged people in the continent. And so we're talking about 81 million kids in Latin America alone that live under the threshold of poverty. And 22 million of those, they have no drinking water any place close to where they live.
That's amazing.
So they have to walk every day. They have to walk X number of miles just to get water to drink every day.
Wow. That's a real eye-opener for somebody who's like in the high up corporate world, and to witness that. I think that's it is definitely a calling.
Yeah, exactly. And the good thing always, obviously, number one, you have this idea, you have this epiphany. Number two, how do you make it happen, right?
Yeah.
And then I think, I was able to bring also, I mean, obviously to convince this, that we are three co-founders, and also one of them was extremely, well, two of us were coming from the business world, like seasoned business people for many years, helping other businesses grow. And this other gentleman, who is actually the father of the other co-founder, and he had been educating teachers in the entire Latin American continent for 50 years. So he really knew how to teach teachers, how to train teachers, and he chose a couple of PhD students of his to develop the training, the workshop that we right now deliver to the kids in need in Latin America.
Wow, amazing stuff.
Thank you.
Amazing stuff. And so I guess my question would be, how is teaching CEOs of great corporations, is it any different to teaching these young kids as to become entrepreneurs?
Yes. Well, there's typically the kind of services, as you said very well in the beginning, I typically help those CEOs to expand their businesses internationally. So basically, we put in place some, strategies and specific processes in place in order to help them expand or develop their businesses internationally, and also to expose their brands, their services, their products, etc. So obviously, they both go hand in hand. And it can be both, it can be corporate CEOs, but it can also be established entrepreneurs. We tend to think, number one, the entrepreneurs tend to think that going internationally is as easy as just sending some emails abroad, right? So,
No.
someone will grab the net, someone, you take a net, right? And someone will maybe, bite the bait, and then, they will be our clients. That's one way to do it, right? I mean, I think that you were kind enough and obviously sensitive enough to reach out to people outside your own country. And I do that all the time, as you can imagine. But not everybody thinks the same way. And you know that you have to adapt yourself in order to talk to people in other geographies, just because, they do things in a different way, right?
Absolutely.
But entrepreneurs, right? Because, we are all excited, we're all passionate. We decided to take the route of doing everything ourselves. It takes some time and effort to realize that we need a team, all those different things and pieces that we have to get together. But the corporate CEOs, they see it from a completely different perspective. When they go abroad, when they want to go global or international, they start thinking, okay, so how can I use my same products or services? How can I localize them? How can I safely deploy my sales force, or maybe hire an external sales force going to that particular place? So it's a completely different story. Let's say, obviously, in corporations, they have obviously all those processes in place. So they are fully aware that before taking the decision to go internationally, they have to be aware, mindful of the financial implications for them moving forward. So it's kind of two different stories, corporations or established entrepreneurs, but both, what they have in common is that they really want to keep on growing and offering value through their products and services to people in other geographies. They believe that what they are already offering locally in their backyard can and will provide, value to other people in other geographies. And they are right. The only thing they have to do is just take specific precautions to do it the right way.
Yeah, I agree. It's a huge learning curve for a startup or an entrepreneur that's wanting to expand their business, whether it to be interstate or globally. They have to have a totally different mindset. They have to have obviously the resources behind them, but as you said, it's not just like you send an email to somebody and next thing you have a global market. Unless you're very, very lucky, it doesn't work that way.
Correct. Yeah, I totally agree with you. And also, we both live in very large countries.
Yes.
Right? Many different states and many different cities and many different cultures. I can definitely tell you that someone from Texas is completely different to someone from California. Yeah. And I'm sure that relates to you. It's the same thing for you. People from the north and from the south are different, and people from the east and from the west are different, right?
Absolutely.
Exactly. So it's funny because there's certain things about expanding nationally, which are also common to expanding internationally. Like, how am I going to monitor groups of teams that are working remotely? Now
Yeah.
everybody's remotely and it's different. But up until today, still, it was a challenge for someone that wanted to expand. I'm 500 miles north. I'm going to have an additional sales office with one director and 3-4 sales reps, and then a couple of engineers, whatever that was. And, and we're gonna dominate that territory as well. It doesn't work like that, right? It doesn't work like that.
No.
Expanding, just the meaning of expanding, involves many different things. So if you add into that, not only the distance, the time zones, but also the culture, right? The culture,
Yes.
that intrinsic ingredient of us as humans, and you were talking about, exactly this, the current state of affairs just before we started our conversation, right?
Yeah.
The current state of affairs, what's happening in the world, right? I mean, some states are in lockdown, some others are not, some countries are, some others are not. There's a whole huge variety. It's like, it's like a big, massive, like puzzle in the world right now and every country and every government is doing different things. So just consider that in the framework of conducting business. And obviously there's still services that have to be provided regardless of what's going on from a political or economic perspective, and go to LinkedIn, for instance. Go to LinkedIn. I do a lot of work on LinkedIn, and it's like the place where I work mainly every single day. There's thousands and thousands and thousands of jobs right now, and I have three kids, and my 20-year-old, for instance, he's receiving job offers every single day. I know that probably he's not at the top of the ladder as far as qualifications, but regardless, there's a lot of work for people that want to work.
Yes.
And again, every single day he gets new offers, and he has job interviews every single day. So there's still work, there's still economic activity, and it's there for us, right? It's there for us to grab it if we want it. The same thing that happens in the job market is happening with opportunities to expand, opportunities to grow your business going to other places.
Yes, there is always opportunity. You just need to go about it the right way, I suppose. You can't just go as a bull at the gate in a china shop or whatever and, expect it, as you said, it's different cultures in different areas, and you have to be mindful that, you're not stepping on somebody's toes. So tell me a little bit about your international TV host. Tell me about that. That sounds intriguing.
Yeah, thank you. Well, thank you very much. So I never thought of really, becoming an international TV host. And the reason why I ended up being is because, picture this. So there were a couple of friends of mine that while I was still living in Mexico many years ago, 12, 13 years ago, they told me, hey, we're going to Mexico. We would like to, shoot. They were already the owners of a TV network online. They had around 100,000 viewers, which is not bad.
It's not bad at all.
So subscribe to their channel in just one of their outlets, in total around 200,000. And I helped them, and I connected them with some spiritual leaders, some people here and there. And then fast forward, one day they say, only 3 years ago, they say, hey, we're going to go to a big, massive conference in Los Angeles. Would you like to come with us? I said, of course, why not? Let's go with you. And they said, well, we actually asked you to come not only because you speak English, and our English is not that good. They are from Spain, by the way. So we would like you to actually, first of all, we would like to help us find, within the framework of the conference, potential guests.
Yep.
I said, okay, I'm going to do it. And then after 30 minutes of having found a few guests, guess what? They asked me, would you mind conducting the interviews in English? Would you mind doing it? Literally, that's exactly what happened. I said, okay, let's do it. Why not? And I will never forget the first person ever I interviewed. His name is Stephen Halpern, and he's the pioneer here in the US of spiritual music.
All right.
So in the 60s, 70s, he was already composing music of like for spiritual events, spiritual conferences, etc. Everybody knows this gentleman, and he was my first guy. The only reason why I accepted is because in my corporate career, I was a couple of times the spokesperson for my companies, the companies who I was working with. So I had got some, PR training.
Yeah.
And number one, and number two, as a salesperson, oh my God, I asked so many questions. I said, interviewing people must be like interviewing, the next CEO that they want to sell my products and services to, I said. And there you go. Within 3 days, I had interviewed worldwide renowned spiritual leaders, Hollywood celebrities, filmmakers, like worldwide famous filmmakers from several countries. It was, Rose, it was amazing. And so in 3 days, 4 days, I think I interviewed like literally 35 people.
Wow.
Like back to back, back to back, back to back. Fast forward, because obviously that it was like a seed it put inside myself. I liked it so much. That I kept on working with them. They told me, hey, why don't you become actually our supplier, our ally here in the US? Why don't you help us expand our business in the US? So they became a client of mine. And guess what? I was conducting interviews every single day. I stopped working with them. And right now I'm actually about to launch the CEO Confidant TV, only in a few days. But fast forward, I'm almost at 500 interviews.
Oh my goodness.
500 interviews. And I have interviewed for 4 different TV networks online.
Wow, that's amazing.
Business people. I have interviewed celebrities. I have interviewed, just to give you an example, I interviewed, for instance, one of my highlights is Michelle Rodriguez, who is the Latina actor, the main character, female character of Fast and Furious. The saga. So next time next time you go to the movies or you rent the movie, the Latina girl, Michelle Rodriguez, I had the pleasure, the blessing of interviewing her. That's one of them. Another person very famous is Les Brown, the famous motivational speaker.
I've heard of him.
Exactly. So actually, I also invited him to one of my telethons. I do crazy stuff sometimes, as you know, you and I, that we like, conducting interviews and trying to help our audiences with additional knowledge and everything. So he was kind enough. I organize telethons from time to time. And I bring, like, in a very short period of time, I interview a lot of people just to promote actually Wisdom for Kids, which is the name of my foundation in Latin America, Wisdom for Kids. So anyway, I have interviewed like many soccer players, like national team soccer players. So it's been a blast. So yeah, it's kind of interesting. Like, I was always in the world of business, but suddenly I started to interview a lot of people.
Yeah, no, it's you're probably right. Being a sales person, I guess you're asking questions all the time. A TV presenter, why not? It's the same sort of kettle of fish, really, isn't it?
And as you know, we're always trying to think, what is our audience looking for, right? How can we serve our audience better, right?
Absolutely. So I guess getting back to the business sort of thing, how can somebody, if I know you're used to dealing with, the high corporates, but at a lower level, at the startup level, what is your advice, I guess, for someone, perhaps wanting to expand their business, even on a national level, so, that they're not overwhelmed by the whole process?
Exactly. That's a great question. Well, the first thing is, I think that there's a blind spot. I like to conduct a lot of surveys on LinkedIn. I do a lot of activities on LinkedIn, and I recently conducted one. And I think that there's a blind spot that unfortunately we have. You probably have lived the same as me. It's not the first crisis, right? It's not the first economic depression or recession that we have lived, right?
No.
We were in 2008, 2009. In the US also in 2001, it was tough for us. It was rough, right? The main difference, I would say there's two main differences with this that we are right now undergoing. The first one is that this one is more global than ever before.
Yeah.
And the second one, with all due respect to everybody, okay, with all due respect, I think that the levels of fear have never been this high.
No.
For whatever reason, economic fear, health fear, uncertainty fear, depression, suicide levels, you name it.
Yeah.
The amounts of fear are huge, huge.
Absolutely.
So when there's such a huge amount of fear among us, that means that we have to change the ways that we do things. Why am I talking about fear or a specific emotion? Is because at the end of the day, when we conduct business, Rose, we are conducting business with people.
Absolutely.
So it's not only that we have to look at which are the industries that are thriving, which are the industries that are not working that well or not going that well or are not growing that well. It's not only that. It's how do we establish relationships with people that we know for 100% sure that their level of uncertainty, anxiety, or fear has dramatically increased. So the first thing is, how are you going to change the way you communicate with your current clients or future clients, knowing that what is running their business or what is running their lives is completely different as before, including the fear. And people are more concerned about the market in general than about what the individuals are doing. And I think this is a big, massive blind spot. Don't wait until having the first approaches to your future clients or current clients to realize that fear is making them act on a very random way. It's not a random way, it's just that they are different people. We all have changed. You know the same as I, right? We have changed, and we will never forget 2020, regardless of what's going to happen in the next months, right?
No.
We've learned so much in such a short period of time. Again, regardless of where in the political spectrum, where in the faith spectrum. Okay, I mean, I'm nobody to judge anybody. I'm just saying what I'm saying, right? I'm just trying to listen.
That's fine, game. I agree with you. I do agree that, 2020 is just like a sledgehammer. And the world has had to go more remote, obviously. So there's more remote business going on. I mean, I know a business friend of mine used to travel around one of our capital cities to visit, his clients. And now he does it all remotely by Zoom, and he says, well, it just saves him so much time and saves him so much money because, and he's had to learn to do things differently. And so now he's got more in his hip pocket. And he's still got happy clients. So, face to face, as in personal interaction, it's not going to be happening for quite some time yet. And I think we all have to learn how to be a bit hybrid now in our dealings with clients or prospective clients. So yeah, I think it's very important. And yeah, I don't think moving forward, I don't think we'll ever be the same at all. Never.
And also, and something else that I think that we have to do, besides acknowledging that everybody's attitude, state, attention levels, etc., has changed, I think that we have to learn to unlearn. We have to learn to unlearn. I think that there's a lot of things that we have to unlearn in order to be able to serve people better.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that we thought they were true, but right now, we know that they are not anymore. And again, we are very reluctant because even if we know that things are not useful anymore, we want to stay in the same place of comfort. We don't want to change. As human beings, we do not want to change, Rose. We do not want to change. So that's why unlearning is so important.
Yeah.
Let me make a general, reflect on something in general terms. We still have the same passions as before. We are still good on what we were good before, right? So we do those two things. Yeah. We have the same thing. They haven't changed. What has changed? Has changed what the people need, right? Would you agree? I mean, what the people need
absolutely,
right now,
absolutely.
People. So what the people are going to pay for. Those two things have changed. Yes. What the people need and what are they going to be open to pay for.
Yes.
So that's why I said maybe what you have to think, why don't you rewrite your own list of what you are very good at because you know, or because other people have told you. And number two, that's number one. Number two, why don't you review the list of things that you are passionate about? Those two things. And maybe you are able to find additional things that you can do and additional services or products that you can offer to your potential clients moving forward.
Yeah.
So there's a term that is started to be used probably like 7-8 years ago, which is pivoting, right? Pivoting.
Yeah, that's what I did.
Exactly. You did that, right? So you know what? I think this is a great time for many people to think, okay, do I have to pivot? And if I have to pivot, am I open to pivot?
Yeah.
First thing, am I open to pivot? Then, okay, so am I going to really do a search? Am I going to look inside myself and see what can I do instead of or in addition to what I'm doing today? And then start moving towards that direction. So you have to make a decision. That's why I said, when so many people are in fear, they are blocked.
Yes, absolutely.
They are in shock, right? So keep moving, keep moving, keep moving, keep moving, and try to find that spot in which or to which you can actually, or from which you can actually offer additional services or products to the people that need it now.
Yeah. A lot of people have that I know have lost clients because the clients fearful that that they can't pay, or that they themselves are not going to be able to make any money, and it's just been a vicious cycle here, and so many businesses have closed because of fear. Basically, it's fear. When there's been so many government handouts here and so much help from the banks and whatever, but they're fearful. And you're right, fear has just taken over the world. And you just want to know, when's it all going to end?
Yeah, I mean, I think that we all have had this kind of thought of, when are we going to be awakened of this nightmare, right? I mean, when are we going to go back to where we were before? When will we be able to greet and meet our friends, our neighbors, the parents of our kids, of our kids' friends? And I mean, there's a lot of things, but also at the same time, as for instance, me as a European, I see many countries in the north of Europe that or never had any kind of lockdown, or the lockdown is gone like for 3-4 months already. So there's this diversity of things going on in the world that we don't really know. It's funny, like the crisis is global, but the knowledge about what's going on in every single country is not.
It's not, no, and it should be.
It's not. So reach out to a friend who lives in Finland or in Sweden or in Norway today and ask them. I think there's other Baltic countries also that are in very, very completely different, situation as Australia or as the US, for sure. But that's okay,
We're not going to the US. We're not talking about them.
No. Just again, we are creating a better future individually, regardless of what's going on around it.
Exactly.
Yeah, totally.
Anyway, that's about it for today. Thank you so much, Angel, for joining me. I really enjoyed our discussion. It's been absolutely a pleasure. And
thank you. The pleasure has been mine, Rose.
So I don't know. Just thanks so much, and have a great evening or day or whatever time of the.
Yeah, for me it's evening right now. It's 9 p.m. And as a very good Spaniard, I tend to go to sleep very late. So that was perfect timing with you, Rose. So thank you very much again. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you, Angel.